All right.
All right.
On your mark, get set, go.
Go.
And we're live. I know, right? It's always so
did it.
epic. Oh, I gotta put my phone on mute.
Yeah, right? We can't be all like,
I
oh,
know,
got
like
a
total
work
rookie
call.
moves. I know, and if I got one call right now, that I would have to take.
It would be a work call. Podcast over.
I know, right? Podcast is over.
Podcast
Long
is
pause,
over.
long break.
Sorry, guys.
Come back tomorrow wearing different shirts. All right, well, we're back. Mark and Jeanette. Mark and Jeanette. Episode 6.
6.
Yeah.
6.
I'll drink the 6.
Yes.
I will drink the
Heck
6.
yeah.
Cheers. That's not bad.
No?
That's not bad. No, that's good.
Okay.
We're doing something different today. And, rather than going with scotch today, we're going with tequila.
Tequila. But, different ways.
Different ways.
Yeah.
And this is different. This is interesting because I've never had this tequila. Tequila mi campo. It's got like a nice little Aztec picture on it.
It's not as pricey as the others. Of course, it's not like a Don Julio. And
It
I
says
love Don Julio.
Blanco rested in wine barrels. Ooh, I like the way that sounds. From Jalisco, Mexico.
It doesn't burn when it goes down,
It
so
doesn't
you
burn.
know you're not gonna wake
But
up all dirty
we
the
might
next
be
day.
super trashed when we're done with this.
What drink?
I was thinking about this. What's the deal with the alcohol? Nobody really asked or anything like that, but I was just kind of in my mind like, what's the deal with the alcohol? We have scotch. We have
Tequila, vodka.
You have vodka. I have everything. I have the scotch. You have everything else. But today we're doing tequila. But I was thinking back to the time when people would drink throughout their normal lives, and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Like guys in offices, executive
like
Mad Men style.
Mad Men style. I love
Right?
that show.
You open the cupboard up and you have alcohol there, and you're doing business. They're like, can I get you a drink? And they had those customized bottles, and they'd pour each other a drink, or guys would go for lunch and they'd have a couple of drinks. And I was like, I've always liked that you can conduct business over drink. Not saying that's what I do.
But not that that's what we do, because it's not probably a custom in a small town like ours.
Right.
But you go to bigger cities, and I've heard that,
They probably still do.
Yeah, they go out, instead of a 1 hour lunch, you get a 2 hour lunch,
Right.
you have a cocktail. And some companies actually put in your policy that you are allowed one drink during
Really?
your lunch hour. Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to know what companies those are.
I know.
Like, how do
we
I
gotta
apply?
do the work.
It's like that Google. Google, are you? Do you have a one drink policy?
One drink policy during your lunch. I think that you can write it in.
It's curious in this day of what do we call this days nowadays? Like with Karen, and you have to be like very politically correct and all that.
Yeah.
That even something like it's drinking can be frowned upon, because I think drinking's not for everybody in all occasions. I think there are people that are they have what do you call it, like people they get hooked on stuff.
You mean like they have an
Addictions.
alcohol dependency?
Yeah, they get alcohol dependency. They have addictions.
They can't function.
Can't function, or you have people that are functional alcoholics. So I think alcohol definitely has its place amongst everybody, or maybe it doesn't have its place amongst everybody. Some people can drink and others can't. Do you know?
Yeah.
So I think I was just, I don't know, I was thinking about that, and I think it's fun to be able to throw this up and have a drink or two and not get cray.
Well, not yet. I mean, who knows what this one's gonna do? We'll end up on the floor.
Hour and a half later,
end up on the floor.
heads on the
And we're like,
table.
hey,
Like,
that was a super
that was
long
a
pause.
great time. I had an amazing time.
We start getting up and dancing.
Right?
For no
It's like,
reason.
okay, no more alcohol.
Okay.
And I definitely am not like one of these people that big like a weed smoker, because I know there's probably people that smoke weed the way that they like some people drink, right?
Yeah.
Like habitual, and then like how the laws are changing regarding weed, and
I think people are viewing it differently. They're looking at it more medicinal. They're looking at it more
right
for if you have like an eating disorder, if you are in pain, chronic pain, instead of taking something that is addicting.
And and I think weed's going to be
like
legalized.
A narcotic.
I think we're seeing it. We're seeing it now that we're seeing it happen. I think in our lifetime that weed will be legalized, like federally. It won't be a class 1
It's not
drug.
gonna. It's not gonna just be the states legalizing.
Because the states are legalizing it, but it's still a class 1 drug federally. so it's still illegal. And you know, it's a hard stump to get on or off of because people are very polarized about weed, or you know, and I'm not going to go into all drugs, you know, but just like if you say weed, I think some people are either like, yes, it's good for you, it's no worse, it's not any worse than drinking, it's medicinally, you know, helps calm your nerves, blah 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 blah, all this good stuff, and then you just have the other, you know, people on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like, oh, weed's the devil. Oh, you're on marijuana.
I think they probably are the same people who frown upon drinking.
Probably,
I feel like
probably.
if you have that opinion, you're probably already feeling that way about alcohol.
Right.
Right?
Probably. I mean, who am I to say? And you know, and honestly, the whole weed debate, it's not a debate I like to get into, just because, you know, like it gets heated, and people are very rooted in their opinions, either for or against, and they're not going to change.
And that makes sense.
And that's fine.
I'm not
It's
that
whatever.
passionate
I'm not.
enough to be right.
You're not
or
Rastafarian, where you have like the dreadlocks and the rainbow, you know, Jamaican style hair piece where you're putting your hair up into and all that good stuff.
I think I can see both sides.
I got a tingle. I almost sneezed.
Oh,
my
that was
God.
the tequila.
That would have been
That's
the
the tequila.
people would be listening and their speakers blow up and I sneeze into the microphone. We're not going to do that. So yes, I've always liked the merit of being able to like just sit down, have a conversation like we do, have a drink, and not get hammered. You know, I think you could. You know, some people may say alcohol sucks. You know, or it's not very good for you. You know, why would you enjoy it? And other people be like, oh yeah, alcohol's a good time all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Like I said, I don't like to get into the minutia and argue and all that. I think having a drink when you're with a friend, going over topics, I think that's cool. And I've always liked that whole, like I say, the whole Mad Men style. You know, like all the guys and hell, I'd pull out cigars right now if you smoked a cigar, and I'd be okay with smoking a cigar and having a drink. You know what I mean? Maybe
I'll take a lesson in smoking cigars.
You know, I just bought some too. There is a brand of cigar I like called Oliva. Oh, it's wonderful. And then I go and buy different ones and I always try them out, but they're really good. So maybe we'll have a cigar night one night and we'll be coughing away and hacking up a lung. And again, with smoking, not promoting people smoke, our light went out.
It did. It really did.
It really did. I don't know.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm going to do an intermission.
Okay, that's probably a good idea and see what happened.
Right. And we're back. The light has been fixed. We called in the electrician from China to fix his Chinese light, and the light's back on.
AKA
mysteriously going out. Click.
We got our sound guy, Mark. We got our
electrician, Mark. I know, like our researcher, Mark. Wow, that was crazy though. It was like click.
Yeah. It's like noticeable. We're like, what happened?
What happened?
I thought for sure the electricity was going out. Like there was thunder because you know it's been raining.
Right.
I thought we were going to experience a blackout.
Well, you know, I just figured it was a cheap light from China and it just died. I was like, we just got these lights. What the heck? We're trying to step up our game, and you know, and yeah. So now we're working on lighting, trying to improve our lighting. Yeah. So, so drinking, we're back. But yeah, we're doing tequila this time, so I'm pretty excited about that. I've been kind of having a little bit more tequila lately.
Yeah, you have.
You know, just to try to switch it up. I definitely like my scotch, but just something a little bit different. You know what I mean?
I usually just gravitate towards vodka, but it's always kind of neat to understand like different things that are out there and like what's going to be like the best product for like your dollar. Because sometimes you can buy something really expensive,
right?
And it's not that good.
Sucks.
But if you can find something that's not super cheap, because you're pretty much going to get what you pay for. But if you can find like that happy medium.
I was going to buy a bottle, but I was running late. You know, today was just a busy day here in the evening. So next time it'll be my treat. So.
All right.
Okay, so we just talked about alcohol and weed. We're not going to get into arguments. It's not what we want to do. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. So, I don't know. I kind of had a lot of different topics in mind. I was like, what are we going to talk about in episode 6? And I think the original topic I was like gearing towards was like this idea of how do you know when you're into something good?
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing something good. And then it kind of veered off into the whole good vibes and, how can we, make this a good social commentary on people, like give them good advice, good stuff. And I was like, okay, like how about good vibes, putting out good vibes. What you put out in the universe is good, and what comes back to you is good. But then it seems like there's been so much going on in the media too. This has been on my mind. COVID-19, the whole vaccinating thing. I saw. I was for work today. I was on the roads today, and around lunchtime today, I was driving, by our downtown area, and there was a protest. And somebody said it was teachers about, giving people the choice to vaccinate and wearing masks. So there's been like a lot of stuff in the news about COVID, and then the Taliban withdrew, or no, we're withdrawing from Afghanistan. And so there's been like a lot of crazy stuff lately, and. We could just do a whole commentary on just like, on the news. I was even reading this thing how, scientists are alarmed. They're saying the Gulf Stream is collapsing. Do you know what the Gulf Stream is? The Gulf Stream is collapsing as a result of climate change and, all the fires, all the crazy fires, all these crazy storms, which doesn't strike me that there's a lot of crazy storms. They've been tracking hurricanes, but there's always hurricanes and not a lot of them made landfall. So there's been a lot of stuff in the news lately.
Yeah, there has been.
There has been, yeah.
In fact, while I was waiting, they were talking about like conspiracy theories. Did you see that? It was actually
conspiracy theory? Are we talking about Elvis? What's going on here?
No, well, it's funny about Elvis, but
Elvis.
No, so it's
eating
actually
fried bananas on a UFO.
No, fried bananas on a UFO. It's the 30 most shocking government secrets.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Like, okay, first of all, that's a rabbit hole, like a can of worms. I don't even know if I'm ready to open. Once upon a time.
You know what? I should forward this to you anyway because it's actually pretty exciting. It's something that I think you would enjoy. So let me go.
What's funny is, like, I think everybody makes the rounds into conspiracy theories.
Oh, totally.
Oh, you know what? That's something we can totally do.
Conspiracy theories?
Because episode 1 and leading into episode 2 or 3. We kind of talked a little bit about UFOs and ghosts,
and then we talked,
and we're like, we're not a paranormal. We're not going to do a paranormal thing and typecast ourselves, but conspiracy theories could go right in that, and I think it's almost like a rite of passage as you're growing up that you go through the whole conspiracy theory phase. Like, what's the biggest conspiracy thing that caught your attention that for a while there that you were into? Like, was it chemtrails? Was it like the government UFO cover-ups? Was it like JFK, New World Order? Like, what's...
Oh, and then, the one that's still very fascinating is the Illuminati.
Illuminati's kind of like wrapped up into all of it, right?
It's all wrapped up into all kinds of things.
Was that your thing? Was the Illuminati your thing?
No, it was something that my dad kept telling me about, and I'm like, what is happening?
Was your dad into the Illuminati thing?
Oh, he so is. And it goes, he knows more about it than I do, but it's still very interesting how there's like
Bilderbergers and the black nobility.
It's
like the reptilians.
It's super interesting, but then also it goes into what, you're talking about Area 51, which to me is like, okay, it's already been explored, done, movies, all this stuff. Yeah. Okay, so it's already been kind of
But there's still an Area 51, and then we still also have White Sands right
and
here.
And you have was it Dulce?
Dulce, the underground alien slash,
Now
human.
that one's very interesting.
That's super interesting.
That one right there. If I was going to talk about the most interesting thing, is the idea of that even existing.
So what you're referencing, and actually I need to open up my laptop because there are a couple things.
So some background, yeah. Let's give our viewers...
Have you been to Dulce?
I have not been to Dulce.
Okay, I've got to log into my computer real fast. But yeah, so Dulce, New Mexico. It's there's a lot of reservation land up there. Mm-hmm. A lot of Indian reservation, and right there, that's always like I'm all trying to touch my screen. This is not a touch screen.
That's the tequila talking.
I know, right? But so Dulce, it's not. There's a lot of Indian reservations, and like. It's just like the start of a good story.
This is really good.
It's really good, right?
Well, the mix is really good. I'm surprised.
But like every good conspiracy theory, involves Indian burial grounds, aliens, secret government ops, underground bases. The only thing that's missing from that mix is pirates.
Dang it! pirates.
You know what I mean? If there was pirates, dude, that would be like the most interesting story. But let me think here. Okay. So have you? First of all, have you been out there?
I have not been out there.
I was still like balls deep into conspiracy theory at that phase of my life when I lived in northern New Mexico, and I was listening to all the conspiracy theorists. So there was the big one was Alex Jones, and we can talk about Alex Jones later. He's super interesting. David Icke. Did you ever hear about David Icke? He wrote books about reptilians, and the reptilian is like a reptile alien that took over, like that secretly run all the governments and da da da. But there was a guy.
His name was Mark Castillo, who had the biggest conspiracy theory.
No, is it Paul Benowitz? I think it's I want to say it might be Paul Benowitz. So this guy came out, and he had some stuff wrong with him, and maybe it's not him. I'll have to look it up here more in a minute. But there was a guy coming out saying, "Hey, there's a secret alien base in Dulce, New Mexico, but it's not all aliens. That it's also like the government, and there's like special forces guys working in there, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff to do with it." Mm-hmm. And he says there's like different levels, and as you go further down the levels, there's more aliens, and you get to where they're doing experiments on stuff, and that there might have even been like human experiments down there.
Isn't the whole theory as well, or maybe I could be misinformed, isn't the deal with the aliens, right? We're talking like this is real, but I mean, this is conspiracy theory world. Wasn't the deal that they could experiment as long as they shared their technology?
Yes.
And, it would be covered up by humans.
Right.
Yes.
And that there's all sorts of stuff going out there. And like, so when you drive into Dulce, so you drive, depending on where you're coming from, but you usually go, the way I got there, I think you can get there from Farmington. I went through Taos. Okay. Went over the Taos Gorge, went through a place, not Chimayo, what's out there?
It's Tres Piedras. Tres Piedras.
All that. And you're driving out in the middle of nowhere. And it is like the most beautiful drive.
Yeah.
Straight up. It's a beautiful drive. I mean, the Carson Forest, Kit Carson Forest
is really pretty.
Beautiful. You're really talking about like rolling hills with that picturesque tree line, and then like grass hill below that, like lakes. That
part of the country is really pretty.
I mean, if that was Kit Carson's like favorite place to be, I don't blame him, because it is just spectacular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is just spectacular. And so yeah, I drive out there. So you drive out to Dulce, and there's like a little sign out there. And it's like kind of like, there's canyons on either sides, and you drive in, and there's one 2-lane road state highway going in, and that kind of runs off to an end. And then there's another 2-lane road that goes out this way. That's it.
So there's not like a post office or a school, or
there's
like a little
there's
small
like a
town?
Department of DOT, Department of Transportation out there. They they maintain the roads.
Okay.
There's nothing out there.
How weird.
Like, there's nothing out there. There was like maybe like 2 or 3 buildings that looked like, if I remember, they were probably like state ran, but I remember the DOT, they had like the plows out there. And being such a remote area, why was there plows out there and all that? One thing I do remember driving out there, and this was interesting, is as I was driving out and heading towards Farmington, I remember seeing like little vent pipes in the ground.
Oh, weird.
Because like when you're, like, in your house, on top of your house, you have ventilation pipes so the heat can come out.
But at the same time, though, if you're passing like Tres Piedras, in between Taos and Tres Piedras, you have the spaceship homes, which are all underground.
You're way past that, though.
So, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be, like, if someone were to come drive through it, would they be like, well, I just passed those spaceship homes. Is this one deeper underground?
No, you're way past that. So I know what you're talking about. Like, once you pass the Taos Gorge from Taos,
yeah,
there's these homes that are like very space agey. They're really
And they're
bizarre.
all underground.
But they're all like
They're
green.
yeah,
They're all green.
and they're all made with
Right.
recycled stuff,
Recycled
like
stuff.
tires and plastic, and I mean they're making homes to, with
Right.
waste.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
reusing it.
And they reuse their own water, everything, like absolutely everything. It's fascinating.
Self-sustained.
And that's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Like I mean, I'm not knocking people that want to save Mother Earth by any means. I think we all should do our part. But it's kind of cool. They're bizarre looking little places, all natural, everything. What's curious with that, talking about Dulce being a couple hours outside of Taos, and then Taos, these little space agey looking little houses and all that. Then you have the Taos hum.
I'm glad that you brought that up because
Really?
around that area, yeah, it would only make sense. You can almost kind of think about it. Like the house hum is like something that only certain people can hear, but it's like this ongoing hum,
Right.
and they don't know where it's coming from. What
And
is the source?
some people say
of
like,
this hum?
is it mining underground? Do you know what I mean? Is it something? There's like all sorts of crazy stuff. About that, right?
Yeah.
About the hum that I've never heard of it. I've been there lots.
I've been to Taos a lot of times, and I've never heard the hum.
Right.
But I mean, some people swear by it.
And then you couple that with Dulce, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Part of the deal was, there's a picture of a water tower saying Dulce, but there's like nothing out there. Well, it says it has fewer than 3,000 residents. I don't remember seeing like houses. They must be like very remote.
You're all 3,000 where?
Where?
And 3,000 is a lot of people, considering
3,000
that
is
there's
not
like
a lot. Well,
I know, but 3,000, like, I mean, I've passed
I learned
towns
yesterday or today that Hatch, New Mexico, the chili capital of the world, has 1,900 residents. Mm-hmm. And Columbus, New Mexico, has 1,100 residents.
Okay, but that's the thing, though. You see a city. You see, like, not a city, but you
Like
see a town.
A little town.
So for a town like
Right.
Dulce, where there's nothing, and a town like Hatch,
Right.
then you would see buildings, a gas station, something, a school. But for there to be 3,000 residents, where are they?
Right. It was crazy. And, there you can look it up on YouTube. There's people that are interviewed. They say you can see crafts coming out of the canyon, whatever. But so there's the alleged alien base that's ran jointly with aliens and humans in Dulce, New Mexico. And I feel like you don't hear about this a lot anymore. I feel like you used to hear about it more.
Yeah.
It was kind of a big conspiracy theory thing. But so what happened was it was jointly ran, and there's this guy. His name is Phil Schneider. Yeah, he was a government engineer. He claimed to have worked there in Dulce, helped build it, right? And in 1979, so it's like a year after we were born. You were probably like 5 years old, 10 years old. I don't know.
What?
And
After we were born,
But,
we're like the same age.
so he said, the special forces were in there. He said specifically like the Green Berets were in there, and they were working in there, and there was an altercation or something that, I don't know, spooked them, or argument. I don't know the basis of why, but they started fighting. And the aliens were, killing Green Berets. Green Berets were killing the aliens. It was going back and forth. And that he said an alien with like an energy gun shot him.
Wow.
Like not just a bang, but like an energy. And well, funny, he said he put his hand up. And if I remember correctly from the videos of him, his hand was like jacked up.
Weird.
Right. I mean, I'd have to Google.
So was it like severed off, or was it
like from the energy gun when he got shot?
Yeah.
It could be. And he said a Green Beret pulled him out, threw him like in the elevator to go back up, and he never saw the Green Beret again. And that eventually they brokered a peace deal, and it's still going on or whatever. You know what I mean? But just kind of interesting. Who's to say it is true or it's not true? And who? I don't know. Like, okay,
Well,
first of all,
strange
here's a
things
picture of
happen all
Phil
the
Schneider. We can't put it on screen
I know.
because of the
so we'll just have
copywriting.
to encourage people to just look it
Look
up.
up Phil Schneider, and there's
Oh,
a picture
look at
of him.
his hand.
Look at his hand.
So
It's almost like
I can
it's
describe
melted,
it. Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's like
It's
so
almost
you
like a straight
see-
line, line from
but it's
here to
this-
here,
It's like this is like missing. If you can
Right.
see that, it's like
and it's like a straight line.
Yeah.
It's all gone. And I don't know who Phil Schneider was. He could be completely legit. He could have been on acid. I mean,
He could have been on acid. It could have been just a trip.
Well,
and
so that's the thing with like conspiracy theories, and it goes back to what we were talking about, like COVID and aliens and UFO. You have to like factor out you have to factor out your bias. Okay, there's a guy saying a crazy story, and so the bias is like, is he schizophrenic? Is he on drugs? Okay, did he hit his head? You have to go down.
You have to
eliminate everything.
You have to check off those boxes to see what's legit.
He's already passed away, so we'll never know. We'll never know. But in his interviews and online and all that, when you listen to his videos, and I've listened to his videos, they're fascinating. And the thing about him when he talks is he's very compelling, and you kind of like, wow, this is interesting. And if you say like there's a shred of truth in everything,
and based on that article that I was seeing,
right.
I mean, there's like 30 shocking government secrets, which I encourage everyone to. It was on today's newsfeed, so what's today? August 25th?
August 25th. Was on Facebook News, or where did you find it?
It was on... It's actually pretty cool, but
I feel like we're so like technologically savvy. We're all like checking our phones. It's all popular mechanics. Popular mechanics is pretty
the
legit.
30 most shocking government secrets. So I like this because it's listing all 30, and it's telling you like, the first one is the Pentagon has a UFO program, and of course it all starts like, well, they denied it, but now it's like truth, and then it just kind of goes down.
It's really changed. Okay, so just to wrap up on Phil Schneider.
Okay.
I mean, people see stuff out there all the time. You can look it up online. They say, it's out there.
I kind of feel like there's some truth to something. If too many people are saying the same thing,
there's always a shred of truth.
There's going to be something that's common.
Right, the common denominator.
I mean, maybe the facts are a little mixed up. Maybe, maybe.
And maybe that's part of the allure or the cloudiness of a conspiracy theory. Okay, so the thing with us human beings is, in our mind, we remember things crystal clear. We think we remember it crystal clear, but really, you don't remember it quite exactly the way it happened. Even though you say you'll be there, like, I swear it happened this way. I'm telling you, and Jeanette was there, and she was making baby aliens and da da da, and like, you know what I mean, with her tequila, and so. Like, somebody's saying it like it happened this way, but over the course of your life, as you get further away from the event, your memory of it, you remember the overall event. But
it starts to change over time to like
There was a beer commercial like that once.
Yeah, it starts to change over time by your perspective or how you felt, or... It
was a Super Bowl beer commercial. These guys are playing football in the park. And they're drinking, and like it started off like a guy. They're at the park. The first time they tell a story, they're like, or when it happened, he like stubbed his toe, but he kicked the field goal or something, and he makes the winning field goal against his friends. They're like, yes, and it's like a Budweiser commercial. And then while the beer commercial is rolling, it shows the retelling of the story. And in the retelling of the story, there's like a crowd, and it's really windy, and his foot's like has like a foot brace on it, and he kicks the winning field goal. And so every time, like as the beer commercial's going, the story gets bigger and bigger
until more glorious.
Until the final telling of the story, while they're drinking like Budweiser or whatever it was, is there's like a blizzard.
Oh no!
And there's like it's in a huge stadium packed with people, and it's like a full-on football, like all the football players with their helmets, and there's the guys there just wearing their regular clothes, and the guy that kicks the field goal is like in a full body cast. So it's kind of like that. You remember the gist of the actual story, but your memory starts to get a little blurry, and I think that
could potentially be happening with these conspiracy theories.
Right? You have a lot of people. I mean. Back then, because now it should be different with the because now with technology, your cell phones, you think people get recordings, and you do see a lot of recordings from cell phones and all that. But if you think back then, though, when people we don't know if they were writing down. There weren't computers. There weren't cell phones.
They were retelling stories,
right?
One person to the other. So things are going to change, like that game Telephone.
Right.
Things are going to change. The details are going to become blurry.
Yeah, So it's kind of interesting, and I think that's part of the whole thing with some of these older conspiracy theorists is that as the story got retold, there's shreds of truth in all these stories. But maybe as time has gone on by 50 or 60 years, I'm telling you the truth. This is the way it happened. Maybe that's the way you're remembering it, but maybe it's not the exact same way it happened.
I think it also has something to do with how you were feeling that moment. If you're like,
Right.
let's say, for instance, there's like 4 friends, right?
Right.
Like, let's say that beer commercial. You have that one where he kicks the winning goal. You have one person who's feeling like optimistic. You have someone who's like, this dude's not going to do it. Or you feel
Right.
someone, you have people feeling different things. I bet you each story would change
Absolutely.
according to their feelings and how they felt about it.
His kid broke his favorite cup, or him and his wife, a guy and his wife were fighting, or vice versa. A woman was fighting with her husband, and she's in a bad mood, and she's out there, and what she's feeling at that moment when she sees what she thinks she sees kind of will affect the retelling of the story.
I mean, maybe it was she was in a bad mood, and all of a sudden, like,
Yeah, right.
it was so inspiring, all of a sudden it changed. I mean, who knows? It's just people's feelings, I think, have a lot to do with the retelling of a story.
Right.
And
right.
that maybe we might be onto something about conspiracy theories. But one thing you have to also remember, though, is that there's language. I mean, yeah, we may not have had all this technology, but someone had to have written something down. And
Well,
once you
that's
write
what
it
the hope
down,
is, right?
Yeah.
That's what the hope is. But okay, so there were some really good. There are people that really do good jobs of journaling, and I think in the old days, there's journaling was a lot bigger. Like if you look at Thomas Jefferson, he kept a journal. George Washington, they talk about the day-to-day events. They would talk about temperature. They'd always tell you what the temperature and the weather. And so, like historians or whatever, whenever they're looking at information, they look at some of these old journals where people kept track of all these events in their journals, and they were very specific about it. Do people do that now as much as maybe 200 years ago? I don't know. Do they did it as much as they did 50 years ago? I don't know, but some people did. But did everybody do it? So if somebody saw a UFO at Dulce, New Mexico, did they run home right away and go write it in their journal?
And why would you want to, especially if it was like a sketchy thing, or if you noticed, you'd almost not want to write anything down, so you would never be like,
right.
right.
Like,
yeah, you saw something. I didn't. They whip out your journal. It's written on this page.
Right.
You saw it. Oh.
So it's kind of
you
fascinating.
Wouldn't write it down. Maybe you wouldn't write it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Like all these deathbed confessions over these last 20 years. There's been so many deathbed confessions lately from people from the JFK assassination, the CIA, the Bay of Pigs, like everybody that was involved in all these Cold War situations. Now that they're like in hospice, they're dying, and they want to get it off their chest. There's been a lot of these deathbed confessions, and
what an interesting time.
And I remember one. There's one specifically regarding a guy that I want to say he was like with the CIA regarding JFK.
Oh, that one's an interesting.
Right.
That's an interesting
conspiracy
conspiracy theory, because some people don't believe that Oswald was the one who actually killed him. I mean, there's a lot of theory regards
to
that.
A lot of people
to
claim
that.
there was somebody behind the wall, somebody on the grassy knoll.
And then if you go to the 6th floor museum in Dallas.
Have you been there?
Yes.
I've never been there.
It's very. I've been there.
Is it legit?
It's very moving. It's very
Really?
moving. Yeah, I would recommend it. Anybody out in Dallas, go to the 6th floor museum. It's the Texas School.
Really?
Book Depository.
The book depository. Yeah. For the schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to take time, because you're going to go through.
Is it like an all day thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an all day, but you have to take the time to read up, because I like the way it starts. Of course, they're like, well, JFK. They talk about the era and him becoming president and how he connected with the younger crowd. And at that time, in history, there was a lot of people in their 20s. So, because he was in his 40s.
Right.
He related. I mean, a lot of people related to.
He's
like our age. Can you believe that?
And not only
he was
that,
president.
and he was a war hero.
I mean, it's amazing.
He was on a PT boat. I think that's what they were called, PT boats. They're little boats. Like, so in World War II, the Japanese, right? And battleships, cruisers, aircraft carriers. But sometimes you need small boats with machine guns, maybe have a torpedo too on them, that can get in really fast. And the little small boats, which are made out of plywood. could get in and do a quick attack versus a battleship that is fast, but not as fast as a little speedboat. And so they can lob big shells, but sometimes they, you need somebody that can get in closer to smaller ships. So if I remember correctly, and I'm gonna butcher this, but he was like maybe a PT boat captain.
I'm not even sure.
They attacked like a Japanese ship or something like that, and their boat was disabled. And he saved his men. He swam to an island. They evaded the Japanese that were searching for them. And so JFK, like, he was also a legit war hero. So he really connects with the people that he wasn't a politician. He actually went to war. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that probably is huge. I mean, when you think about a leader who's trying to, if you're talking about someone who's trying to lead a country who's
been there.
Yes.
He wasn't a politician, even though his dad was a politician, and the whole family life is so interesting. So like the whole family life is like his father made his money during Prohibition.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They
was it Joseph Kennedy or one of them was ambassador, to like Germany, which kind of like. And like I said, I don't want to butcher anything, but they may have been like Nazi sympathizers at first. You know what I mean? Like it's all really interesting. And then the whole thing with the other Kennedys. Who was the other Kennedy? The one that they said killed a girl because he was drinking and driving. Was that Ted Kennedy? He was in a car accident. He left her for dead, and she drowned in the car or something like that because it careened into a river or something. I don't know the details. I'm butchering it, but
the whole conspiracy theory around surrounding JFK.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, and the museum also kind of goes through it too. It goes through all the conspiracy theories. They're thinking KGB. They're thinking, was it, is it internal? They're talking about all the different conspiracy theories out there.
Let me ask you something. Conspiracy theories. What's your take on it? Is it people wanting to grasp onto something? They want to believe into something so bad that they believe? Do you think that there really is something there and there's like powers that be that don't want things to happen, and so they're playing society like a chessboard and making things happen a certain way? What are your thoughts about all that?
I think that there has to be some truth to it. Now, is it always as extreme as the conspiracy theory itself? And in reality, I kind of feel like you need those watchers, the conspiracy theorists, the ones who are looking at the details. Because for the most part, like, I don't have time. I'm sorry, I don't have time to be going through the news and going through all that. But if you have people who are looking at patterns and kind of like saying, wait a minute, asking questions and asking some tough questions. Now, do I believe is as hard as they do? No, but I think in history, I think you can find that some things can be true. Right. I mean, the government has hid things before, and I think it's all about.
Conspiracy theories are fun.
They're fun. I'm not gonna go chasing it.
If you have a boring, mundane life and you want to be a part of something, do you know what I mean? That's plausible. And Lord knows there's been a lot of experiments on, like, from the military, from the government, that were thought to be conspiracies that weren't, like not the Tuskegee Airmen, but I believe it was Tuskegee, where they intentionally give black soldiers like syphilis to see what would happen. There was when they would put sailors on battleships and they'd blow up the atomic bomb, and the sailors would be there and they're like, yeah, nothing's wrong, nothing bad's gonna happen. And the sailors would say, like, you're covering your eyes with your hands, and when the bomb went off, you could see all the bones because it's so many X-rays and radiation, right? I mean, Lord knows, like, the Manhattan Project for World War II probably was a big conspiracy theory. What, they're working on a big bomb in New Mexico? That's just crazy talk.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, a bomb that could destroy a whole large city with just one bomb? Oh, that's just crazy talk. It happened.
But I think that historically, people put a lot of faith in their government, but you have those risk takers. I mean, if you didn't have risk takers, weapons of war would not be created. Sure. So, I mean, you have that one crazy person saying, hey, listen, if you do this and this and you mix these chemicals together, this is a reaction, let's test it. And you have those people, like, willing to take a risk. Now, this is where people are at, and I think this is why conspiracy theories are important for, you know, I mean, yes, please, conspiracy theorists, please continue to do your stuff, because I think people can be too trusting in their government. I think that, you know, we take it for granted that our government always has our best interests. And, I mean, look at other countries. Look at all the, you know, look at what's happening in Afghanistan. Look at countries that are not, like, being led. I mean, they're suffering, you know. I think that we have to question what we're being told.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And I think that because we put a lot of faith in our leaders, and they lead us, you know, they lead men into battle. Mm-hmm. They put you in situations where you're testing out things. Right. And, you know, we're like, it's safe. Well, then it comes out, you know, what if it's not safe? It's like, dang it, you know, I'm glad there's conspiracy theories out there. Absolutely. I think people need to be aware.
You do need to be aware. And
but is it as bad as they say it is?
I think you know, there's probably like a happy medium that you have to pay attention to, and that
I think people need to form an opinion.
Right, they need to form an opinion. And what about like when conspiracy theories, as outlandish as they may be, turn out to be true?
Oh,
I mean, like it's one that we know is true now, but back then, especially after World War II, after the concentration camps, and after everything happened, you talk about was Operation Paperclip. Do you know what Operation Paperclip was? It was to get Nazi leadership that is important to science, important to like advancement of you know, rockets and, you know, scientific studies or whatever, get them out of Germany so they wouldn't fall into Russian hands. And so they changed their names, they gave them fake documents, like who was the one of the rocket researchers from World War II that helped develop the V2? We brought him to the United States.
You're talking about Robert Oppenheimer?
No, not Oppenheimer.
I was like, are you talking about?
Okay, I'm gonna look up father of American rockets.
Oh.
Or, he's like the father of the
rockets.
space race.
Oh,
is it Robert Goddard? Was it Goddard?
Oh, I thought we were talking about the bomb.
There was a German scientist that was a Werner von Braun.
Oh.
He was a Nazi. You know, made huge advances in rocket technology. The V2 rocket, right? The V2 that they would launch rockets from Germany, and they would essentially like the first unguided cruise missiles, and they would fall over London. And knowing that the Russians were advancing on Germany and on Berlin and all that, we brought him to the United States, and he was the one that wanted to go to the moon. He was the one that wanted to win the space race, and his research and his knowledge took America there. Now, what was his part with the Nazi Party in Nazi Germany? I don't know the details, but maybe that's part of the conspiracy theory, though, was that we brought this Nazi, card-holding member of the Nazi Party, and we brought him to the United States, and he did all sorts of advancements for the American, like for NASA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's that Operation Paperclip, and apparently there was like thousands of people that we brought over from Nazi Germany like that, so that the Russians wouldn't get them, and we would we changed our identities and all that so that they they wouldn't be persecuted, they wouldn't be found, and it's a conspiracy theory. Did Hitler die in the bunker? Did he make it out to Argentina? Do you know what I mean? It all kind of goes with that.
And I think that when you're faced with a situation where you have something to gain from someone who you probably should be, persecuting for crimes or, charging for crimes, but if they can probably, and this is probably like business, right? Government business, you have to think about the greater good.
Right.
And sometimes the greater good outweighs
and
just that sudden, that, what are we saying? We're talking about being charged for war crimes.
Right. I think in this day and age, because it's funny because, we always look back at history through the lens of today. Mm-hmm. Today we're very accepting, we're very open-minded, we're very forgiving, and there's a lot of apologists in terms of the old history and all that. And one thing you and I said was, history and humanity is very messy.
Oh.
Remember we said that.
Yeah.
We said, history is just very messy, and humanity is just it's been messy. Millions and billions of people have died. Who knows how many people have died at the hands of tyrants and monsters and whatever, right? And we it's easy for us to look back at the things that have happened in the past and look at it through our own eyes and be like, God, that was horrible. Why would we do that? And you actually hear it in the context of the United States. Mm-hmm. We've done a lot of bad things, and a lot of people have done a lot of bad things. A lot of countries have done a lot of bad things. I mean, you look at China, the Cultural Revolution, Tiananmen Square. Look at the Russians. Look at our neighbors to the south, Mexico City during the Mexican Olympics. There was a student demonstration, and they gunned down kids in the street in Mexico City, and this was only like 30, 40 to 50 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's not that long ago. And the one thing I haven't heard this said in a while, but I did hear it was like, we were so bad to drop the A bomb on these cities, and it's easy to say like, oh God, the powers that be at the time made bad decisions to kill thousands of people by unleashing these horrible bombs, ushering the world into the atomic age. But what you don't hear is a counter argument. You don't hear it that often of like, they were talking an invasion of mainland Japan, and casualties being in the millions. On both sides, the Japanese were very fanatic, died to the last man. The American soldiers, they were going through just brutal hand-to-hand fighting, the banzai charges. The Japanese believed in their cause, and they were relentless. So what was the lesser two evils? Dropping 2 atomic bombs that ended the war immediately, mm-hmm. or let the war drag out for another year or two, and that many more lives are horrifically.
And that's a hard argument, even because it's not. When you think about the dropping of the atomic bomb, you're talking about like, not only did it just, obviously, kill a lot of people on just that initial impact,
not just men, but
women, children, and people who are just citizens, just trying to live their lives. But at the same time, the long effects of the radiation.
When the Americans first landed on one of the Japanese main islands. And I don't remember which island it was. It was the one that was closer to Japan, like because Japan's, but it's a mm-hmm. series of islands, but it's one of the main islands. Where's the raising Iwo Jima?
Hiroshima.
Iwo Jima. Where the raising of the American flag. Iwo Jima, the raising. There's that famous statue of the American soldiers raising the flag during World War II in the. You don't know Iwo Jima?
Dang it! I thought you were talking about the bombing of Hiroshima.
I don't know if I spelled it right, but
where was
that?
Yeah,
there we go. It's there we go. Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
See,
yeah.
It's a very iconic picture, and it's on. I don't know if that's one of the which island it was, but we were on one of the Japanese main islands where there's a lot of civilians at. And the civilians were prepped to fight to the last. They were told, we're monsters and we're going to just rape the women, kill and eat the kids, like the whole 9 yards. Like, mm-hmm. People were freaking out. So much so that when Americans had fought across the island, on the other end of the island, there's like cliffs. Mm-hmm. And people were over there at the edge of the cliffs, like throwing their families off the cliff. Rather die than face the horrible Americans throwing their babies off cliffs. What's worse? Like, what's the lesser of two evils? We drop a bomb, or we go to slaughter. It's a horrible hand-to-hand combat. People start committing mass suicides. It's like...
war is the worst.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
And I think you and I have already had a conversation, even on this podcast,
all the time
about the old like ways when people would go into battle, they'd be like face to face.
Oh, I know.
This is even far worse because this is something that you can do from afar. You drop a bomb,
right?
And it's like you don't have to see. You only hear about it. You don't have to see it.
What's crazy is like the Russians tested the Tsar bomb, the biggest bomb ever exploded, biggest atomic bomb. And it may have been a hydrogen bomb.
I know that after the U.S. dropped the atomic bomb, I know that it keeps flickering.
We're all looking at the screen.
Hydrogen. I think that it improved, but then it was a hydrogen bomb, and that was because the chemicals are. I mean, I can't even remember. I saw this documentary. I was like obsessed with that for a bit.
Right, kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. But the dropping of the atomic bomb. I mean, the bomb itself was very heavy.
Right.
So you had to find planes to carry it.
Right.
So then you know, to have to find something smaller, more efficient. Well, I think it moved into the hydrogen bomb.
The Tsar bomb, it's the largest bomb ever exploded. It's a hydrogen bomb. And there the Russian plane that dropped it, I remember this, is when they dropped the bomb, they had to put parachutes on the bomb. Because to slow the bomb's descent enough to give the plane enough time to maybe get away.
How would you like to be the pilot of that plane?
No,
might make it.
Are we gonna make it? Well, we don't know. We're gonna put some parachutes on, but it's the biggest bomb in the world. So are we still gonna get away? We'll put 2 parachutes on.
Sometimes I feel like, and I had this thought in my mind.
Have some vodka.
As I'm waiting, I have this. I'm reading the 30 shocking government secrets, and I'm going through the list, and it's so funny because I'm like, there's one about like a robot dragonfly, and there's a robotic catfish, and so they have all of these things.
Well, I've seen the robot bass fish, like people mount their walls, the bass.
But there's these weaponized, and then there's also like the theory that, the shocking secret that there are some dolphins that would go and attack. So I'm thinking in my mind, it's like, someone came up with this. Someone came up with this.
But the thing with the dolphins, though, training dolphins to go find bombs in the ocean, that's actually a thing, though.
I know, but it almost makes me feel like little children, like when you're little and you play, and you use your imagination. You're
my God. Here's one of the top secret. One of the 30 top government secrets is Apple's top secret iPod.
Yep.
Really? Oh my God, Bigfoot. The FBI was tracking Bigfoot. That's a whole different
the killer dolphins, though. It's so funny. These are secrets, or these are people who just they've just said something, and they were like committed to oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna create invisibility, or I'm gonna, it's like an imagination, and well, you know what? We can do it.
I want to say the dragonfly one may have actually been. I want to say some of these have already been proved to be real. Even the weaponizing of the lightning. That these aren't really conspiracies. You know what I mean?
I know. I mean, they're talking. I mean, they're saying the 30 most shocking government. It's fun.
Lost plutonium. I mean, there's a lost A-bomb in South Carolina where a plane was going to land and it was going down. Operation something Dome during the Cold War was that we would be ready to strike back at a nuclear strike immediately against the Soviets.
So are you saying that we have all of these weapons just ready to go? And
well, no, what it was is, so we had bombers in the sky 24 hours a day during the Cold War. So it was a part of our strategic defense plan that to be at the utmost point of readiness, they would always be up in the sky. There would always be bombers with nuclear bombs in the sky. And one of them was coming down, was having engine failure, it was over the Carolinas or something, and it was coming down. Well, when a bomber's coming down with engine problems, it has to get rid of the payload, because if it crashes, all the bombs go off. So they dropped their atomic bombs. One of them's lost out in the swamp of the Carolinas or something. They never recovered it. And I want to say that's happened twice in the United States.
So you could just randomly be visiting a state, and all of a sudden the whole state.
A frog jumping from rock to rock, a poor little frog Ribbit jumps to one rock, Ribbit jumps to the next rock, and then the next rock's really not a rock. It's like a 60-year-old atomic bomb in the mud. The whole state's gone.
The whole state's gone. The whole city.
Going back to the Tsar bomb, though. It's so big, though. Again, might be butchering it, but I'm pretty sure that the area of destruction for the Tsar bomb was the area of something of the size of Texas.
Oh my god.
You know how big Texas is?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like you drive through Texas and it never ends.
You need a couple of
it
days
never
to
ends.
get through Texas.
I know, right? You have to. You come out with 10-gallon hats and big red boots, and it's like you cross like 3 different time zones. It's like, what just happened?
It's like it's its own country. I mean, it really is. But
The Lone
you're
Star
gonna find
State.
you're gonna find some really good barbecue out there, though.
I know you'll
Every
be well
time,
fed.
every time I go to Texas, I like all of a sudden start craving
You
barbecue.
crave a Texan.
I crave another Texan who can cook some barbecue.
So conspiracy theories are interesting, and and even like you think about these old conspiracy theories. There's like a lot of modern day conspiracy theories too.
Oh, so enlighten me on one modern day conspiracy theory. I don't know any of them.
Okay.
I mean.
Okay. One of them is like in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
The special forces that are going through the mountains and all that. One of them was that they found like a UFO in the caves of Afghanistan. Another one was that they were in the caves and they came across some giants and they ended up killing one of the giants. Because there's a lot of stories about giants that roam the earth.
Yeah, giants.
And that they may have killed one in Afghanistan. That in the Black Sea. The Black Sea.
I feel sorry for that really tall man that they killed.
I know, right?
He
was just a really tall guy.
Really tall guy.
God, you guys are so mean.
He had social anxiety and they killed him.
And they killed him. He lived in a cave because people made fun of him how tall he was.
And then all of a sudden they kill him. I mean, like,
right? Yeah,
gosh,
poor guy.
Poor
you know what I
dude.
mean? Like that's horrible. But in the bottom of the Black Sea, there's a UFO. And they haven't successfully gotten down there because every time they get close to it, something happens to the remote control submersible that they send down there. Modern day.
That's just an excuse.
I
I'm
know,
just
right?
kidding.
They're
They're just not passionate enough to get down there.
Just this year, I mean, the release of the TikTok videos, the UFOs that the Air Force's F-15s that was the most advanced fighter jet that we had. They were that we actually tracked on radar. And they were like trying to engage.
That was. I mean, I thought on this one they're talking about. The Navy footage of the UFOs that wasn't the Navy
sorts,
UFO videos weren't supposed to be released. That is one of the topics on this one.
There's videos. There's videos of UFOs from Hawaii that came out this year, showing lights going in and out of the water. People recorded on their cell phones. What else?
You're probably going to see a lot more of that with people having technology.
Well, you know what?
We talked about that the other day. You're probably going to see more.
What's interesting that the Trump administration did, that whether you like him or not, he wanted to know more about the UFOs and all that. And part of the Pentagon to get their money is they had to when they had to release the reports on UFOs but as part of the reports that they have to give the Senate, the subcommittees, on UFOs, it has to be released to the public. That's one of the big reports that came out this year. That whether UFOs do or don't exist, and how many of them, that most of them are from Earth or whatever. You know what I mean? And but it's coming out more and more. And one of the things that Trump did was all right, well, to get your money, your defense, money or whatever, that you have to file this report, and to the subcommittee that has to be released to the public. So love Trump or hate him, that's more than any of the past presidents have done. Because Bill Clinton, he famously said he wanted to get to the bottom of the UFOs, and of the UFO stuff, and if he tried to get information on UFOs, and he said something like, if there's UFOs, I couldn't get access to it, and you know what I mean. So it was just a very interesting conversation. Him saying that not even I could get to it.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah. So I mean, who knows? With the way the government works with subcontractors and all that stuff,
and you can kind of see it too. We're talking about greater good.
Right.
I mean, what happens? Okay, so, I mean, let's hypothetically think here. All of a sudden, it comes out that it's really, really, it's true.
It's true.
Real.
Okay.
How do you think people are going to act?
If tomorrow
news,
they say, Okay, that's a good point because the
How
whole
are
thing
people
was
going to act?
the whole thing behind it was they're protecting us from ourselves.
Because I can see that.
Right. So you can see you're telling me that you would want to keep information from me because I would suddenly quit my job and I'd stop believing in God and I would divorce my family. You know what I mean? I'm not
That's extreme.
No, but essentially that's what they're saying. Like
They're
because
saying
of
that.
because of there's life in outer space outside of Earth, that it would just destroy. Like
I think potentially that could happen.
so, you think everybody would stop going to church? People would stop paying their bills. I mean, do you know what I mean?
I think it would cause social, I guess, distraught. I think people would like all of a sudden like
People would stay at home, curled in balls in their bedroom, like, oh my God, what are we gonna do?
and and it's okay. So think about it this way.
I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So
Go ahead. Please
so
continue.
let's say just hypothetically saying
Be hypothetical.
aliens exist
Jeanette,
and they've been here the whole
Throw
time.
me the hypothetical
Okay,
thing.
not the real because
Be hypothetical.
I have the real facts and the hypothetical facts, right?
The world wants to know hypothetically what you know about
what I
UFOs.
think about UFOs because
Yeah.
I'm a doctor in UFOs.
Ufology.
I have a online.
Don't bump the mic because
Dang it.
you're gonna make sounds on people's speakers. Sorry about that.
Sorry
That was
about
Jeanette.
that was me.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So
Please continue.
So let's say this has been happening like forever.
Forever.
And we've been functioning, paying our taxes, living our lives,
You've
doing
been
all
paying
of this
taxes.
stuff. Some people
Oh, I'm
don't pay
sorry.
their taxes, but
Some
I pay
people,
my taxes.
like if Uncle Sam's listening, no, I've been paying my taxes every year.
I pay my taxes all the time.
All the time.
The whole time.
And if you tell us about UFOs, I'll continue to pay my taxes.
But then, you would have the downfall of like society because all of a sudden this gets released tomorrow.
So
right? All of a sudden
yeah.
it's in the morning news. Aliens do exist, and by the way, this is so and so, and he's been the leader, and he's been the alien world leader here for like the last 100 years.
So maybe so that you're dipping your toes into this whole idea of the reptilian conspiracy.
Well, I don't know, but okay, so
Go
maybe
ahead.
because
Well,
without
go
even
ahead.
really knowing
So-
that. So then all of a sudden, people like, I knew it. You're gonna have people like, I knew it. And you'd have some happy people.
Yeah.
And you would have
They'd be
majority.
validated.
They'd
They'd
be
be
validated, but then they'd be like, oh crap, what does that mean?
Right.
And then you'd have some like, well, what the heck?
So my thing
And
is like
people- I
for
think
the
think
majority of the
Society would
population,
fall.
like for the majority of the population is like, oh my God, everything's a lie. We're not going to work because that's a lie too.
Yeah.
Kids, you're on your own. It's all a lie. And I'm not going to believe in baby Jesus. And do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think people wouldn't be able to handle it.
I don't know. Because I think
I don't think we're that smart. I'm gonna say that.
you're saying we're still a bunch of chimpanzees flinging poo at each other.
Listen, have you not looked at the last 10 years of our American government?
You know what?
Did you not look at?
Do you remember 9/11?
Yes.
9/11.
Very memorable.
Nobody since World War II, the Japanese sneak attack would ever attack the world again, or the United States again, the mainland. And 2 jets flew into the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
The hub of the heart of the American finance system was attacked. The towers came down, and
Americans.
air
were like,
travel stopped. All air travel stopped, and Americans were. A lot of people didn't go to work. They're concerned for their loved ones. They were glued to the TV, and it seemed like
we were just
you know what?
shocked.
It seemed
and I
like
remember,
for a week. It
I
seemed like for a
remember-
week.
I remember being
America
shocked.
held its breath.
Yeah.
And like slowly for that week after, people came out of their shells. They went to work. They were nicer to each other. People got along with each other.
I mean,
But
people
society didn't unravel though.
Okay, that's a good point.
And that's like one of the worst things that can happen. That has happened on the mainland. You know.
But if anything, something like that united humanity.
Right.
So do you think that
look at
maybe that
was
could?
is it 1989 the San Francisco earthquake? Was it 89?
I don't even.
There was I remember the
I
San
don't know what
Francisco
year.
earthquake. It was a big earthquake. The highways collapsed, buildings fell. There was a lot of people hurt and all that. And again, people came together. They got through it. They overcame the hardships. You know what I mean? They rebuilt.
I like your perspective.
Okay,
like it.
let me tell you. You know my perspective?
I like it.
I believe
I like that
as-
people will come together.
As crazy as you think I am, and probably anybody that knows me is like, okay, I'm not full of BS. You know what? I believe, and I've always have believed in the good of man. And I know there's crazies out there that love anarchy, that'll take advantage of situations. But for the other 98% of the population, I believe in the good of man that they're going to take care of their families because they love their families. They're going to take care of their neighbors because the neighbors need them. And we'll come together to overcome these obstacles. And I think if the government came out tomorrow and said, look, guys, we didn't know how you're going to handle it because it's scary, but there are UFOs out there. They have advanced technology that we probably can't defend against, but they're there. Mm-hmm. I don't think society's going to come apart. I think there's going to be a lot of conversations like, oh my God, which president knew about it, and who made the agreements, and who decided to hold the, and I think that all that's going to come out. And
so
who's to blame?
You think people could handle it?
I do. And maybe 100 years ago they couldn't. Maybe that we were still too God-fearing, and it would have shook us to our core. But I think we now.
Maybe we need something like that. Maybe we need a something to bring humanity together, because God knows we fight amongst ourselves. Yeah. I mean, we need to have like a common goal.
It's funny. That's a common theme of what we talk about. How you and I.
Yeah.
I don't want to say humanity's bad. I don't believe humanity's bad in the greater sense. I do think there are terrible people that influence other people. I think people want to believe. They strongly want to believe and be a part of something big.
Yeah.
And I think there are people that take advantage of that. So I think bad things do happen. But I think overall people as a whole are good. I think humanity as a whole is good. And yeah, we did bad things, but we're evolving together. And so, if they came out and said UFOs did exist, we'll get past it and we'll adjust and be like, okay, so what's next? Does this mean that Marvin Martian's going to come down and we're going to meet him and have an interview? Does this mean we're going to stop calling people crazy for seeing lights in the sky? I think people are going to be like, what's the next step? Do we
I just don't want to be enslaved.
Right. Do we advance Space Force, Trump's Space Force? Do we advance it and make sure that we're protected from it? I mean, I think there's a lot of smart people now that would be like, okay, we got to figure this out now.
Yeah.
Is it plausible? With what I've told you about outer space being so big, I think outer space is so big that you and I can't even comprehend the size of it.
We can't
fathom
that.
I think we see pictures of our solar system in the book. And we say, here's Pluto, and here's Uranus.
No one ever says forever is a really long time.
Right. And I think when we see it all on pictures in the book, and here's a picture of the sun, and here's a picture of the earth, and you look at the pictures like, oh, we're as big as the sun. I think the context of size is so off that we really can't fathom even how big our own solar system is. And I don't think most people can even contemplate how big the earth is.
That's true.
And I think astronauts are the lucky few that they go into outer space, they leave the atmosphere, and they get such a different perspective of Earth. Like, God, Earth is so big, we're so small in the cosmos, and us as human beings are tiny on this big planet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, is it plausible that aliens could exist? I think something as big as space, I think anything's plausible.
I think anything's plausible. And that's something I do.
Yeah.
And I guess we can go on record. I would think it'd be ignorant not to think that there's something bigger than us.
Yeah,
we can't think that we're.
I think if you want to tell me aliens don't exist, the debate, it would be incumbent on you to convince me why. Because I think it would be easier for me to convince you why aliens would exist. We're all made from star matter. We're all made from atoms. There's billions and trillions of planets out there. They've identified some very Earth-like planets. So I think I could probably have a better chance of saying why there would be aliens versus you saying why there wouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. That's just kind of how I view it. So yeah, if aliens did come out tomorrow and we had an Independence Day, Will Smith would come and save the world. You know what I mean?
I love the speech at the end of that movie.
This is
Where-
no longer an American
Yes,
holiday.
every time, and it's an old movie now, right?
Is it a tearjerker for you?
Oh, totally. I'm like, oh my god, that's
I mean,
amazing.
the next, the
amazing.
prequels to it were they're cashing in on it, but I think
it's still an amazing speech.
the first one's the best, and it's an amazing speech.
Bravo to the writers, man.
Bravos
That
to
was
the
awesome.
writers.
That was awesome.
UFOs.
Yes.
All from Dulce, New Mexico.
Dulce.
New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of interesting.
I like the stories here in New Mexico. There's a lot of interesting fun facts here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the testing of the atomic bomb.
Right. Dulce.
Yeah, Roswell, who like they say, oh, there's
Aztec, New Mexico, Socorro, New Mexico. There's a lot of the very large array. You know, what was that one movie with Jodie Foster about where they
Contact.
Contact.
Oh, that was a great movie.
The very opening scene where they see all those very large telescopes. That's the large space array. That's the large array. That's in Socorro, New Mexico, on the other side of the mountains, and it's amazing. You come over the mountains. Have you ever seen it?
I have never gone and seen it.
You see it far away. Once you come you're coming over the mountains on the road. You see the large array, and it's amazing because as you're getting closer and closer to it, they just get bigger, and they get bigger. What looks like little satellite radio dishes in distance, they just become these monstrously big things. And again, it kind of shows the lack of our perspective to comprehend how big something is until you're right there.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. They're really cool. There's a lot out here. And then you think about the other states, Arizona, Texas, all the legends, all the stories, Arizona, Nevada, all the nuclear bomb testing out there. I think the United States, just the United States in general, is fascinating. There's a lot of interesting stuff.
A lot of cool things.
Yeah.
To go see.
There is. It's all over. To go see the abandoned nuclear missile silos. Oh. That's cool.
Have you gone to them?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Outside of Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh.
You pull off the side of the road, you walk there, you can look down it. The lid's open. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean,
I've been out there so many times and I've never done that.
What do you call those people? They're not preppers, or are they preppers?
You're talking about the doomsday
preppers? Where people will buy those silos, they convert them to underground homes. Okay, nuclear bomb or a large catastrophe happens. Could you handle living in one of those for 100 years?
God, no.
With your family?
God, no. Someone's gonna die, I'm sure. It's too close.
Who died and made you God? This is my silo.
This is my silo.
Get the hell out.
I am the master of my silo.
I am the master of my silo.
No, I mean, it's too much. I don't think that our brains can handle that. I think we're just too social. I think we want to be free. I think that it'd kill our spirits. Someone's going to die.
Somebody would
You might
die.
just crawl in a corner and just die yourself.
Jeanette, you are the weakest link.
You are the weakest
link. We are the weakest link.
I'm dying.
Get out. Stop breathing our clean air.
If you're going to die, go die outside. Do not die here.
Conspiracy theories is an interesting phenomenon.
It's fun.
I don't believe it's something that's just now, though.
No, I think it's been happening
forever.
But it's fun to explore, and I think that because we have the internet, I mean, so many people have stories.
I think the internet just accelerates these stories. The chat boards and all that. I think I've read so much online that it's just oh my God. Once you go down the rabbit hole, it's amazing. And then you have some people like Alex Jones. He's just fascinating to listen to. And some of his stories really start getting outlandish. He starts talking about government cover-ups, government's connected to this, government's connected to that, and this is going to happen, that happens. And what's interesting about Alex Jones, love him or hate him, some of the stories that he talks about come true.
Really?
Yes. He was talking about Pizzagate, another big conspiracy theory. And I don't want to...
That sounds good.
It's Pizzagate, and I believe it was related to pedophilia.
Pizzagate?
Yes. He was talking about Pizzagate, I want to say maybe a good 5 years before it actually came out. And it came out in these last 10 years only. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about pedophilia in Hollywood? Because that's been something that was also put out there.
No, maybe not in Hollywood. Okay, a 23-year-old man was arrested on Sunday for allegedly walking into Washington, D.C. So this is in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Pizza joint with an assault rifle, saying he wanted to investigate claims that the restaurant was running a pedophile ring from its basement with the help of Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Jeez, what?
Now the allegations of Bill and Hillary Clinton may have been false. That the restaurant was let me see here. The back room was supposedly used for kidnapping, trafficking, but part of it was true though.
And what part?
I have to read now. How it spread, the reaction. There was something about it that was true, but oh man, I don't know. I can't say this without rereading it, but part of it was actually true about pedophilia. I guess a loose connection, and I don't know how tightly you can tie this to, but look at Epstein. Underage girls.
Are you talking about
on the secret sex island? With really famous politicians and really rich to-do people. You know what I mean? So there's seeds of truth in it all. And it all came out like way back when with Alex Jones. He was talking about the airplane going to secret islands where guys could have sex with little girls and all that.
When things like that happen, you should probably.
And then go take it a step further. What happened to Epstein? Was he murdered or did he kill himself?
Oh, that's true. They say that he killed himself.
Was it the guard switching shifts or something by himself and the cameras were off?
Because if
and during that very strategic time,
you wouldn't want him to say too much because it's not going to just be one man. There's going to be all kinds of people involved. So who's financing this whole thing?
So this little window when Epstein was by himself in his prison cell, the cameras were off and the guards were swapping guards or something. He kills himself during that small window of time. They come back and they find him hanging. Did he know the cameras were off? Did he know the guards were switching shifts or something like that?
But why would he wait?
Why would he wait?
If someone's committing suicide,
right?
Why are you going to wait for a camera? Are you going to be that meticulous to not want people to see? If anything, you're just like,
right.
You don't care. You don't care about your well-being.
Right.
Why
if you want to kill yourself, you're just going to
do it. You're that motivated.
There's no cry for help at that point.
No, you're just going to do it.
You're going to do it. Just jump off.
You're not going to just
He's going to drown himself in his commode in his jail cell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's that's a whole new conspiracy theory, but it's all kind of connected. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do like this whole thing, this conspiracy theory thing. It's really interesting. It's fun.
It is fun.
There's tons of somebody that's worth reading. If you can find a book, it's by Bill Cooper. Behold a Pale Horse. Bill Cooper was related to the CIA, going back to Vietnam, and the CIA was it Air America where they were flying like cocaine from Vietnam to here, So he was connected to like all that stuff.
Well, we still need all those conspiracy theorists out there. So
yeah,
if anything, keep watching, keep paying attention.
I wonder
to
what
those
conspiracy
details.
theory is going to come out of Iraq, because like with Vietnam, there's all these conspiracy theories that came out afterwards. Money, drugs, the CIA, and it makes for like good movies, and it makes for all this good stuff about things that happened. And I remember the movies coming out like in the 80s and 90s. So you're talking about like 20 years after the war ended, right? So in another 10 years, I wonder what kind of conspiracy theories are going to be coming out of Iraq, and what did we know, and
what's going to come out of what conspiracy theory is going to come out after
COVID.
Know.
Oh, I know, right?
Right? Come on, think about that.
The big conspiracy theory is COVID. That's man-made, which there's probably more truth to that than not.
I think there's more truth to that, but that's just my opinion. I haven't, please don't take, it's for real. This is not real news.
Yeah.
This is just a thought.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not real news people.
I'm not real news. I'm not a real news person.
What, Jeanette?
Opinion. I know. Like my hypotheticals. That's not going to happen, people. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
What?
Dang it! I know.
You just bursted my bubble. The only reason I'm on here is because I fully expect you to be the expert source here.
I just like to play devil's advocate.
You're deep throat here. I'm talking about the guy from the X Files. Is that Deep Throat? The guy that
No,
he's
you're
always
talking
slipping
about-
up the files.
Oh.
Where did you mean when I said Deep Throat?
I thought you're talking about the smoke. No, I'm not thinking anything. I was like, what the heck?
Whatever. Whoa, Jeanette.
I thought if anything, I was gonna be like Scully or something.
I say Deep Throat, and the look on your face, you went somewhere else, way on the other end. No.
purposely threw that in.
Deep Throat was the secret government guy that was giving Mueller and Scully like files like to help him find the truth.
I hate that stupid show.
Oh.
I love it. It's an interesting show, but I hate it because
They never find the truth.
they never find the truth.
And like
then
Mueller kind of goes
pisses
crazy.
me off. Scully, yeah, okay, Mueller's going crazy. Scully experiences all this stuff, but yes, she's like,
Did they ever hook up on the show?
I think they did. I think they finally did.
Did they finally do? Good
They
for them.
freaking did.
Good for them. They deserve it. They
And
worked
then there was a
hard.
whole movie where like they found aliens or something came out of a volcano, and then later it's like Scully's like, well, that didn't happen.
You're
There's
thinking
no
of Star
alien.
Trek.
No. There's an X-Files movie.
Really?
Yeah,
I gotta look
and
at this
finally,
now. Oh my gosh.
because the whole thing was like Mueller is trying to find out what happened to his sister.
Right.
Because he thinks that, like.
Right, because his sister was abducted, which is why he eventually got into all this.
Yes, and
Right.
then he meets Scully, and
Right.
their relationship is they're having feels for each other.
They got the feels
They
because
got the feels.
they're going through something intense. Because when people go through intense stuff, they get feels.
They're totally getting the feels for each other.
It's like you guys are wrong for each other, but we've got the feels.
Well, we
went
got
through
the
this.
feels, but
Yeah.
what pisses me off about the relationship is they see all of this stuff,
And she
never believes, and it could be right in her face.
She
and
is
she's
like
just like,
so like stone cold about it.
I'm like,
But I think there's probably people like that though.
yeah,
Yeah.
aliens are coming out of your ass. Are you sure you still don't believe?
What was that
I
Ross
mean,
Perot?
come
What was
on.
Ross Perot?
Jeez.
Remember Ross
Pisses
Perot?
me off.
He would say something like, he'd be talking about an American hammer, an American-made hammer. I want to hold it, touch it, use it, taste it, smell it, lick it. It was all about like,
The concrete.
the
Like, holding
concrete.
it.
Yeah. So Scully wanted to really believe. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, going back to what we were talking about conspiracy theories and how people handle it, though, I do believe in the overall good of people to come together to get through things.
Oh, that's good.
And I think I think that's one common trait that separates humanity from other hominids, other things out there.
You think that humanity is going to help each other?
Humanity.
If we
for
have a
so
common
many different
goal,
things. You know what? Humans always they always have like that ember of hope. No matter how bad things can be, there's always an ember of hope that gets us through it, that we grasp onto. And and when you grasp onto it and you have the hope and you're like, we're going to get through this, and we start helping each other, and the strangers start helping strangers. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. It doesn't matter, your race, where you're from, your age. People will come together for the better of good. And maybe not all people. Maybe there's like 1% of the population that won't because they're just monsters.
well, because they're jerks.
Right. But you know what? I think overall, like, I believe in the good of humanity. And I believe in the good of people, that they do overcome and they do rise to the occasion.
I do believe that there are good people out there, but I also believe that there's going to be those people who are going to take advantage of a situation.
Oh, they're always so.
And it's gonna be like looting and rioting,
Right.
and it's gonna be like a breakdown in society.
Sure.
And I would hope that after that, it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
I would hope that then people
But look
would
at the
come
Wild
together.
West. Look at the Wild West.
It
All
was
right,
lawless.
so it was lawless. It was called the Wild West for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Indians. Now the Indians weren't the savages and weren't killing. Most of them weren't just bloodthirsty. I think there were probably some tribes that were bloodthirsty, but I think for the most part, Indians were protecting their territories because they were protecting their
land,
families, their loved ones. You look at the Apache. The Apache were like bloodthirsty Indians, but the Apache were fighting for their people, for their way of life. Do you know what I mean? And then you had people that came to the Wild West to get away from everything. They start, robbing and looting and raping. But then you had those people that step up to the plate. I will be the marshal. I will be the town sheriff. I'm going to put my life on the line to protect the people here that just want to live a good life. Do you know?
Yeah.
And that's how the West was won. The West wasn't won. The cavalry had a part of it. Expansion had the part of it. Everything had a part of it. But I think that same spark that exists in all of us back then, you had that people that had that spark that wanted to do the right thing for the sake of doing right. And I think it's the same spark that you see around the world in different cultures too. You know, you see the bloodshed going on in Mexico with the cartels and all that. Mm-hmm. But you do see some people that join the police force because they want to do the right thing, and they don't take the bribes, and maybe they do get killed for it. You know, you still see in Afghanistan, there's still one province where they're forming a resistance there, because why? They believe in this way of life of people being able to be free and live their lives, and they're not going to live under the tyranny of the Taliban. You started seeing in Iraq when people in Iraq started coming together to fight for their country against the militants there. You know what I mean? So you see that spark of humanity everywhere in the world. You know, no matter what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know,
I think that at the end of the day, you have to make choices that you feel good about.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, ultimately, you have to live with yourself.
So
and I think that maybe that's what it comes down to.
So if I was in a plane and we crashed in a plane in the Andes, mm-hmm. and I wanted to survive, and I decided, look, Jeanette, obviously I'm going to be the survivor, so I'm going to go ahead and just kill you now and eat you to survive. Is that a good choice?
Can't you just, let me die of, weather or something?
But
I would give everyone on the plane permission because... You know, I'm pretty meaty. I think that people would, God, I'm talking about, just eat me. God, that's ridiculous.
She tastes so delicious.
Listen, just put some snow, just wash the skin. I don't know. But seriously,
I want to say that...
Can't you just, instead of just letting me, can't I just die off naturally?
Wasn't the airplane that crashed in the Andes?
I love that movie a lot.
I believe they were rugby players.
They were rugby players. Yes, they were.
If you're watching this, you don't know me very well and all that. I did my time playing rugby. I still toss the old pig skin around from time to time and take a hit here and there. But they were rugby players.
Yeah. Yeah. And they didn't kill anybody. But people who had already died, I mean, that's what we don't know. Fine. Right? But people who were dying, I mean, they resorted to cannibalism. Right. I mean, I think that historically that's just been done.
Right.
For survival. You're talking about people, out at sea.
Right.
I mean, come on. You're talking about,
You pick the short straw, and they're like, all right, man, we're going to... There was a story about some sailors a long time ago out in the ocean. There's 3 or 4 of them, and the kid picked the short straw, and they killed him and ate him.
What is that? I mean, I thought it's called something when you're out at sea. It's like a... I don't know. It's going to happen. I mean, just don't go sailing with your friends.
I know. It's okay. No.
You will no longer
I want to go with my friends because my friends would suspect I wouldn't kill them to eat them. So when I do it, it would catch them off guard. If I was in a boat of strangers, it'd be like, who's that guy? We don't know him. We're going to eat him.
Conversation because now I am not going to sea with you because man, if we get stranded,
I would use you to go fishing. I would be like, Jeanette, kick your shoes out, soak your feet in the water, hoping a big fish or a shark would bite your leg.
Not only that, and I'm marinating in salt water, so I'm gonna be seasoned.
Nicely salted. It's like Jeanette got us a shark, guys.
Oh heck no!
And if the shark doesn't work out, well, she's dying. So
we're just gonna throw her over.
Oh my God!
This is terrible.
It is terrible.
But it's actually very funny. But I'm definitely not going out to sea with you.
Well, fine, that's good. I'm not going to go out to sea with you either.
That.
And I'm a phenomenal swimmer. I'm a great swimmer.
I'm a terrible swimmer. That tells me right there I'm never going out to sea with you.
You're done.
I'm done.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same case with sharks it is with wolves. If you're being chased by wolves, they say you don't have to be the fastest one, just don't be the slowest one. Right. So is it the same thing with sharks? Just don't be the slow swimmer?
I would think so.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe... I don't know.
I don't know. But conspiracy theories are fun. Yeah, alien life is funny, and it's funny how it's such a polarizing argument.
And it's always so interesting to talk about. And everyone has a different opinion out there.
And everybody, like not everybody, but when people believe, they believe. And the people that believe, there's always those people that are like, no, I've seen this, and and they're like, they know facts. And the same thing with conspiracy theories, like they know somebody that knew somebody.
Oh, and it's happened to a distant relative or
someone
that they know. They've never come back the same. They were out camping one weekend, but they never came back. How exciting! It is pretty fun.
It is pretty fun. I think it's fun. Yeah, and you're right. I think just how we were saying when we first started that something like weed will probably be legalized in our lifetime federally. Mm-hmm. I think in our lifetime, and it's happening now. I think the whole thing with UFOs.
It's coming out more and more.
It's. I think the dam's breaking, and there's going to be a flood of information. People want to know. I think all that information is going to come out. Things like ghosts. Unless you have the technology to measure stuff like ghosts and all that, you know what I mean. Bigfoot, unless you actually trap a Bigfoot and be able to say, look, I caught him. There's a lot of really cool stories about Bigfoot.
But then someone can argue with that. The guy was just like hairy and he had like
he was just a really tall, hairy guy. Why'd you shoot him?
Why did you shoot that?
Why'd you shoot
that tall guy in the cave?
Oh, absolutely.
Gosh.
But there's a lot of really good stories there and all that. And again, you'd have to prove it. You'd need a body. You need the evidence. And maybe like with something like Bigfoot, that's what's crazy is that people see Bigfoot all the time, but there's always only blurry pictures. There's not a lot of hard evidence. There's footprints. There's videos.
But it's always from afar because who wants to get up close?
I mean,
and who would survive an up close encounter?
Here's the thing: if Bigfoot is a smart ape-like creature, it would know to stay away from something like us, right? It's like, oh, look at that. He'd probably be watching us. We don't even know he's out there watching us, right? So that's a whole new fascinating thing too. There's stories about encounters with like Bigfoots from the old days where you look up like with the cavalry and like where they attacked like a Bigfoot and like Bigfoot just grabs somebody and rips her head off. But they're able to like attack them and they kill them and they burn the bodies. But this is like hundreds of years ago. But there's stories like that out there, which is fascinating. Dan Quayle has books he's written about giants throughout history. Me. Not the president.
I was going to say. I was like, what are you talking about? Really?
I want to say his name was. Was it Dan Quayle? Something Quayle.
I was going to be like, wow, you've just said something really different. I've never even heard that.
No,
okay.
It's an archaeologist that really focuses on like giants. The thing. Steve Quayle. Steve
Quayle. Okay, so not Dan Quayle, guys.
It's Steve Quayle. He's written a number of books about it, about stories of giants through history, people that were really big. They have like 6 fingers, 6 toes. Really fascinating stuff. Then you also have like, oh God, what other there's in the northeast United States, north central, northeast. What's Michigan? Northeast or north central, or just the Great White North?
I don't know if it's northeast.
Well, it's east of us, like the Great Lakes,
east of us.
Like the Great Lakes.
I don't know what that is.
There's the thing called the Michigan Triangle. There's Bermuda Triangle. There's all these places called Triangle all over the world. One of them is called the Michigan Triangle. A lot of weird stuff. The stories about Dog Man. There's apparently a video of a guy like videotaping like a dog, and the dog like gets up and runs at him, and the last thing you see is like him being attacked by it. Okay, here's one that just blows my mind. Modern day researcher. Okay, this guy was a former cop.
Okay.
He was an investigator, so he's not like just he's not just like what do you call it? Like just some guy collecting data. He would investigate crime scenes. So that was his thing, right?
Okay.
And then on top of that, he retired from like the police force, and he had like a lot of HR experience. So he has like a lot of good experience, a lot of good skills about collecting data, about researching, investigating. he gets into Bigfoot in the Uinta Basin. In the Uinta Basin, I want to say it's maybe Utah-ish. I can't remember exactly. Greater Crater Lake and all that. So he does like all this stuff into like Bigfoot's really interesting. So then he's at a national park, all right? And he notices people following him.
Just regular people.
Right, he's like, what the heck? He gets back to his like hotel room, his motel room, and there's a knock at his door. And he's like, what is it? And it turns out to be like park rangers. And he's like, look, we know like you investigate weird things. We know who you are. We know you're a cop. You're very well respected. The research you've done, like on the Bigfoots and all that, you've gone after facts and not just like crazy stories or dead ends. You went like after legit stuff. And he's like, okay, yeah, come in. And they go, these park rangers, the way it goes is they start telling him about disappearance in national parks. Modern day. This is like modern day. I started listening to his stuff a couple of years back. Maybe going on like 5 or 6 years now. I remember when he first started coming out and being investigated or being interviewed in his first books and all that. I'll tell you his name in a minute. But so the park ranger says there's people that turn up missing under the most mysterious circumstances, and sometimes they're never found again, or maybe their remains are found under the most mysterious circumstances. He's like, okay, they gave him some stuff, and he said, okay, I'll check it out. And so he starts looking it up, and he starts, researching people that die in national parks and all that, and he starts sorting it all out. You have people that go to commit suicide out there. You have people that get murdered out there. You have people that have accidental falls. They have drownings. He starts rooting all this stuff that happens in national parks around the country. And he determines that, there is a group of people, like a category of people, you know what I mean? Or categories that the people that turn up missing or dead, that they fall into, that's mysterious. They're with a group of friends, and then suddenly they go around a rock and they're missing.
Oh, weird.
I'm trying to give you some more examples. Or like they turn up missing, and like kids would turn up missing, like little kids, like 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, and the kids would be found like miles away.
Oh, weird.
Like over 2 mountain ranges away. Not a scratch on them, they're just there. And so, like when he says like 10, 20 miles hiking, so when you're hiking, as the crow flies, as the crow's flying, 10, 20 miles is a straight line. But or let me do it this way, people can see. At 20 miles as a crow flies is a straight line. Point A to point B, just straight there, driving down the highway. However, when you're hiking, you're going up rocks, down little hills, up a mountain, down a mountain.
So the
through
distance
a gorge.
is definitely gonna be a lot longer.
It's a lot more difficult. So
Yeah.
so if you're doing a marathon, you're doing a marathon on a road, you're like you're running, you're hearing I'm the best. I'm the best. Da, da, da. And you're doing 20 miles running.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like 20 miles on a trail that takes you up a mountain, it's a different story.
Yeah.
So he says there's people that they find 20 miles later, 20 miles away and stuff. Kids. And he argues like these kids would turn up missing, and you're talking about toddlers. He says toddlers aren't going to walk a mile before they just sit down and they start crying, or they're going to wait, much less 5 miles, much less 10 miles.
Oh, God, yeah.
Much less over a mountain. He talked about stories where they're doing search and rescue, and they're trying to find people, and the dogs are like, we're not going down this trail. The dogs just lay down, they're like, nope, we're done. And he describes these search dogs and search and rescue dogs and cadaver dogs. The way he describes them is these dogs live for the search because it's a game to the dog.
Yeah.
And he says for them to be like, it's just weird.
It's dangerous for them. They sense something
They
weird.
sense it. They're like, we give up. He talks about how rescuers search their grids, and they search an area, and it's an area that the searchers go through many times. And then suddenly one day the body's just right there.
Just all of a sudden appears like nothing.
And people are dead, and they won't have a scratch on them. And he says, the coroners will usually just say they died to exposure. And it's like, well, the person was only missing for this amount of time. Or the person, like
it
very
was taken and placed back.
Very mysterious circumstances.
Weird. Yeah.
And His name is David Paulides. And David Paulides, he wrote a number of books called Missing 411 about the different parts of the United States, about the cases he's investigated. And it's interesting because he doesn't tell you what he think it is, what he thinks it is. He just tells you the facts. It was this person, and he talks about some of these people, phenomenal shape. They were very healthy, were in great shape. And he'll even tell you, he just gives you all the facts and try to let you come up with your own conclusion. People that were in a group, they were with a group of people, and suddenly the group of people, like, they're all hiking up a trail, and they all go around the bend, and they're waiting for the last person to come around the bend, and the person is gone. Not a peep, not a sound, not a sign of struggle. He says these people, like, there's one kid that disappeared in Crater Lake National Park during winter. And they had to wait for springtime because it was like the winter, the snow drifts were like 10 feet tall. And they said they eventually found the remains. I don't know if they found the remains of the kids, but a hiker called the forestry and said, "Hey, we found this weird scene." And they go out there, and they find like his stuff spread out, and his clothes was all nicely enfolded.
Oh, weird.
And he says people's pants and the boots are found like if you melted in your pants and your pants just fall straight down.
Oh, weird.
He says like kids, like their shirts are like inside out. Like if somebody took the shirt on and put it back on. He's like, most kids can't take their shirts off without help. Stuff like that. And it's very bizarre. It's called Missing 411 by David Paulides. If you listen to any podcast or anything, interviews or anything, if you listen to him, it gives you the weebie-jeebies. You're like, what the hell? And you start thinking in your own mind, like, what is it? Is it UFOs? Is it Bigfoot? Are we being hunted? And it just makes no sense.
Wow.
And
it sure makes me think twice about going to a national forest.
Right. And
Dang.
yeah, and you think that too.
God.
And he says, you make sure you have like a gun and make sure you have a locator device. Make sure people know that you're out there. Make sure they know when they expect to have you back. And he tells you all this stuff. He's like, I love going outdoors, and you should too. But he just talks about smart men, very smart men that are athletes and they're scientists, and they get out there and they disappear, and they're never seen from again.
Well, man, if that didn't create another phobia in my life.
Right, it's
well,
interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like,
Oh,
well, I am not going to sleep tonight.
I'm not sleeping.
I didn't need to sleep tonight. No.
I didn't need a rest.
No, David Paulides. If you look him up and listen to his stuff, he is fascinating because, like a lot of conspiracy theories, when they give you their opinion, they give you the facts on stuff. The way they present it is they present it in a way that it shows you their bias, and it's very subjective information. David Paulides tries to be as objective, and he tries to be as transparent as possible. This is the facts. This is what it is. I don't know what it is, but this is the facts.
I like that though, because it does allow the person to form their own opinion, because you don't want to be influenced, stuff like that. I think I like it. I like that approach.
No, it is a good approach, and it's really good. It's really good. It lets you come up with your own theories on your own, and it's fascinating. There was a bear hunter. This guy was known. The Bart Schleider or something like that. I'm trying to think of his name. But this guy was known worldwide. He would be paid by governments to go tag bears. He would go to Siberia, work for the Russian government, go up to like Canada and all that. And he was like a phenomenal hunter. He was known for being a phenomenal hunter, this guy. And David Paulides, he was describing this guy as like the ultimate outdoorsman. And this guy was such a good hunter. He would go hunting for moose and stuff. He would stop using rifles and he would go bow hunting. So, I mean, bow hunting's hard. So, like a rifle, you could shoot from a distance. You could set up your blind, and you could wait for the animal. And whereas when you're bow hunting, you have to get a lot closer. And it's everything has to be right. Everything has to be right. If everything has to be perfect when you're hunting to get the animal, then bow hunting for a large animal has to be 10 times more perfect. And he was known as that kind of hunter, this guy. And I wish I could think of his name. But so this guy chartered a small aircraft to take him way out into the wild Canada. You know, Canada's
Yeah.
big place. He was going to do some moose hunting, and you couldn't even drive out there. You had to fly out there. The guy dropped him off, and he told him like, "Hey, come back in like 10 days, whatever." The pilot came back, found his campground. Everything was perfect, except nobody. It's like nobody had been there for a week. Very spooky. And he said that the pilot came back, got the CRP, the Canadian Royal Police, the Royal Mounted Police, RMP, the CRMP, the Canadian Royal Mounted Police. They went out there and they looked around and they're like, this guy's not here, but something seems wrong. So they did an investigation. Everything was untouched. Was like if he just walked out of this camp one day, like the campfire, his stuff, everything was there. And they couldn't find him. So they did the grid, they did the search, and eventually what they found was his backpack. And he carried this big backpack that he would sit on when he's in his blind hunting. And they found where they think he set up his blind, where he would have sat on his bag. Mm-hmm. And they tested the scat, the poop, and to make sure the animals hadn't eaten him. Mm-hmm. And so the scat came back clean, but they found little bits of bone.
Weird.
And they found maybe only the top of his cranium.
So, was he eaten?
They tested all the animal scat in the area.
Holy smokes.
Because animals, they stay within an area. You know what I mean? So if an animal ate them in that area, it would, you would find animal poop in that area.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or you would find a sign of struggle. If a large cat or a bear was eating you, torn clothes,
yeah, you would find maybe
blood,
an area, yeah,
an arm over here.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
Bones, something.
Nothing like that.
Weird.
They just found a couple of bone pieces, the top of his cranium, and his bag where they thought he set up his blind, and that's all they found from the master hunter himself. Weird. A guy that would hunt bears to tag them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's legit. And to find, if that happened to him out there, what the hell?
What chance do I have?
It's I give up. I give up.
I'm not going. I'm not stepping in a forest.
His stories are fascinating like that.
Yeah.
Another time on the Appalachian Trail, was it Dennis Martin? I think the kid's name was. A family was up there, and their kid, this family's kids was playing with another kid's family, and they start talking. And they realize, oh, we have the same last names. Oh, we have this. Our kids are the same age. They have a lot in common. And it was oh my God, we have so much in common. And suddenly the dad was calling for his kids, and his son was nowhere around. Only had minutes had passed. He said they kept an eye on their kids, but the kid was suddenly out of sight. They called out to him, and the son was no longer there. And he said the dad went running down the trail as fast as he can for a mile to see if if a kid is gone for 5 minutes,
You're gonna find him.
Yeah.
Running down a mile.
Right.
You're gonna find him.
Right. Calling out to him, something. Never saw the kid again.
Wow.
Yeah, they had a massive search and rescue. Never found him. So those are the kind of things that David Paulides talks about. And it's super interesting. If you want a really interesting mystery kind of, is it a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, mystery.
Mystery-ish, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Something. It's funny because it's a mystery, but it's a modern day mystery, and he takes it back to hundreds of years. Say you read newspaper articles and you read about this happening over and over again. And
it doesn't seem like there's a logical explanation for it, other than the fact that they just disappeared.
Right. And this is a guy that lives today. He's on YouTube. His thing is called the Canadian American Can-Am Project. Mm-hmm. The Canadian American Project, where he puts it all online and all that. You can order his books. It's just freaking phenomenal. But it's interesting as hell. But you kind of after listening to him for 2 hours, you're I'm never going to a national forest again.
Yeah, that's too much. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah, never going to do that again. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's fun to think about. It's good stuff to.
It is good stuff to think about,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, so David Pilates, I have his book somewhere. It's really interesting, and my like 20 books I have there. I don't know where the rest of them are at. So yeah, that's something like really worth getting into. Like if there's somebody I can interview and be like, let's talk.
Yeah.
He would be one of them. David Pilates, Art Bell. He was an investigator for like the Nevada news, like the news team in Nevada, and he's the one. He broke like a lot of big stories on Area 51. Who's the UFO guy that exposed Area 51? It's I can't think of his name right now. It's that guy would be another interesting person to interview.
Who was that guy?
I can't think of his name without going to look it up real fast. But he's the one that like exposed the whole Area 51 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Art Bell was the one that Oh, now I have to look him up.
To look it up.
Yeah, it's hold on. Art Bell, Area 51. That's another interesting pair that I would love to interview. What is it? Shoot. No, I don't want to spend the whole time on my phone here looking it up. What? Did he die? Art Bell already died. Oh my God. Bob Lazar. He's the original UFO Area 51 guy. The one he said he saw something out there. Didn't do it intentionally, but the way it all happened, he came out with said the government harassed him and talked about Area 51, the jets, the airplanes that would fly people out there that were unmarked. Art Bell, Bob Lazar would be interesting. There'd be like, if I could interview anybody, it'd be like these people would be like phenomenal to interview, like what they know, what they saw. Even like, I was just thinking, there's like Leah Remini. You remember Leah Remini?
Yeah, you're talking about the
with her experience with Scientology.
Yes,
she was
like
on
a
Kings
whole
of Queens.
Yeah, she has like a whole season of that on
I think
Hulu or Netflix or something like that.
Being able to ask her questions and hear what she has to say about Scientology, that would be freaking phenomenal.
It is. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting.
Right.
That's an interesting
so
series.
Somebody to be able like, dude, sit down, let's have a drink.
Let's talk about Scientology. Yeah.
Let's what do you like, what is this about? What's your take on it? Just spill the beans.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what's cool about like modern day with technology. You have people that can go online and they can hear about this stuff. Now imagine how hard it was to hear about these people 50 years ago without the internet, without YouTube, without all this stuff. You wouldn't know who all these people were. You'd probably read about a little clip in a paper, but you wouldn't know. And it's technology is making the world smaller, so you hear all these stories, you hear all the conspiracy theories, you hear all this outlandish stuff, you know who the people are, and to be able to be like, hey, can I interview you for this thing I do at home? Just the only caveat is you have to have a glass of scotch.
You just have to have some liquor in your hand.
Yeah, you have to have a drink in your hand. Are you going to be in New Mexico anytime soon?
Hey, maybe.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. But it's kind of interesting though, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think it's cool.
Anyway, so that's my spiel. Well, Jeanette, my tequila glass is empty.
I know, and to be quite honest with you, those two, that I would recommend it. I liked it.
So Tres Agaves, it's margarita mix.
Yeah, it's a margarita mix. It's an organic
tequila
one.
Mi Campo. That's a pretty good tequila. It's got a nice little. There's like a little taste in it. It says it's rested in wine barrels. You could taste it.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, maybe the lights and the tequila, but boy, do I feel warm. Like, oh my gosh. So I think for me, it's like, oh, this girl's got the...
Right?
Whew, she got warm. So.
We totally went off left field today.
But it is fun, though. I really like talking about things like that, and I think that with conspiracy theories... I think people should just keep an open mind. I mean,
keep an open mind. Sure.
I mean, yeah, you can get sucked into that rabbit hole, but we need people out there who have these ideas because
and probably another takeaway for me, just overall thinking about it, is like, no matter what happens, I believe in the good of man, and I think, catastrophe, government comes out and say aliens exist. I think there's enough good people in the world that, that do the right thing. You know what I mean? They do want to take care of their loved ones. They do want to take care of their neighbors, and they're not going to let things just break down to anarchy, irregardless of what we've seen this last 2 years. Do you know what I mean? There's been a lot of crazy stuff these last 2 years.
But you're still also seeing a lot of good people.
There's still a lot of good people.
There's a lot of good people, and there's a lot of people who want to help.
There's a lot of good people that want to help.
Yeah, I see that all the time.
And I think regardless of how bad a catastrophe could be, how bad the story could be, how bad events could be, or how outlandish some people can be out there, there's still good people out there that will always do the right things for their loved ones, for their families, for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their neighbors, for the greater good. And I don't think that'll ever go away. I really don't think that'll ever go away.
Well, I think that's
Or maybe eat a person or two.
Dang,
I'm not going out. If you're still stuck in the mountains somewhere.
I'm not going out to sea with you. I'm not going hiking.
10 feet of snow and you can't get out. It's like, well, Jeanette, you got the short end of the straw. My straw's really big. Yeah, that's the short one, Jeanette.
No, that's
We're
the short
eating you.
one.
Sorry.
I'm not, dang it.
Club you in the head. Dunk.
Dang it.
All right. Well, cool. Well, we'll do this again.
Yes.
And
this was fun though.
It was
I
fun.
really like.
It was
I
kind
like.
of offbeat topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
I think it's fun for everyone because I think that it's interesting for people to think about these things.
You know what's funny?
People talk about it all the time.
Keeping things light.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, again, kind of going on to current events. There's been a lot in the news about Taliban, Afghanistan, COVID, people upset about masks, non-masks, vaccines, rights, and all that. And there's so much seriousness in the world. Sometimes it's fun just to go down a different path and keep things light, and just kind of break the mold for a moment.
Yeah, have fun a little.
Just for a minute.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's definitely been fun talking about.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I would have been a little bit more well versed and looked some stuff up, I could probably have built a lot more facts. But
well, we still need our tech guy and our sound guy and our information guy.
And they're gonna get a whopping sum of no money, but they could have a drink too.
A whopping sum of tequila.
I know, whopping sum of tequila or scotch.
Takers? Any takers?
Any takers? Like applications can be taken at. No, it was cool.
Yeah,
it was a cool
fun.
talk. Definitely.
Well, I'm gonna raise my empty glass, but I'm definitely not
Yes.
feeling it. But it's been good, so yeah, it's good.
Good tequila. All right, homie. You have a good
All
night.
right.
Later.
I'm out. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.